Contemplating an early statue in Civilisations, the BBC's new art history series, Mary Beard, observes that it raises all sorts of questions about what a likeness is. So does Civilisations itself. The show was commissioned by the BBC's Director-General, Tony Hall, as a modern take on Civilization, the 1969 series that he credits with firing his own interest in culture when he was an 18-year-old student in Liverpool. In the original, available on the BBC iPlayer, the art historian Lord Clark, sporting a pocket handkerchief and sometimes a trilby, travelled through Europe describing art's triumph over the barbarians. Clark's first words to camera were, Ruskin said. The BBC trusted viewers not to need a first name or footnote, or to worry that Clark always spoke of man and his achievements. Entitling the remake as Civilisations projects a greater plurality, the art of Africa, Asia and the Americas is added to Clark's Eurovision, as does the argumentative shift from a single self-portrait to a group study. Beard is one of three presenters, alongside Simon Schauma and David Olusoga. Each episode, though, gives one expert a single canvas, starting with Schauma on the origins of human artistic expression, followed by Beard on presentation of the human form. So, visually, the new series is strikingly a likeness of the old. Schauma does not have Clark's tie and hat, but he follows his format of TV as lecture theatre. Intellectually as highbrow as Clark, Schauma is far more elevated in one sense, air miles. The first part of Civilization went to France, Italy and middle. The opening episode of Civilizations visits Switzerland, Spain, South Africa, Greece, China, Mexico, and Honduras. Within her first 20 minutes on screen, Beard is seen in New Mexico, Egypt, Greece, and China. It would be ironic if Civilizations were destroyed by the carbon footprint from filming Civilizations. Art historian Kenneth Clark in the BBC's original Civilization series. Photograph, BBC. It's in ecologically accessible West London that one of Beard's best moments occurs after a 1969 clip of Lord Clark rhapsodizing over a copy of the Belvedere Apollo at Science Park. Beard takes a cool view of his enthusiasm. In what may be another snark at Clark, she repeatedly uses the phrase, ways of seeing. It feels like a deliberate nod to Ways of Seeing, the 1972 BBC series by John Berger, who is often seen, in the history of Arts TV, as the leader of the liberal opposition to Clark's Conservative Party piece. It's a pity that the series doesn't challenge Clark's example of Arts TV, speech artwork sunset, more broadly. Even the much-publicized, multi-presenter format offers less freshness than it might because each appears in isolated chapters. A plated format, in which the narratives of all three presenters ran across the series, might have more satisfyingly represented the sense of pooled views at which the show seems to be aiming. As Schauma begins and ends the series, and presents 5 of the total 9 shows, there is also an implied sense of hierarchy. The other presenters get 2 films each, but the series is unfortunately sequenced so that Beard disappears after program 4 while Olusoga doesn't turn up until the 6th edition, which means that none of his work has yet been released for preview. In another disparity, Schauma is credited as project consultant on Olusoga's programs, but not on Beard's, as Schauma therefore has some involvement with 7 of the 9 episodes. The promise Beard says she received from the BBC, that she and Schauma were being paid the same fee, could, presumably, only be true on a pro rata basis. Series with a further reach, clip from Civilizations, showing a hand stencil dated 37,000 BC. Photograph, BBC, Newtopia. Watching the Clark series now, it is a surprise to find how implicitly political it is. The presenter warns that viewers, in 1969, are living through times in which there is an uneasy feeling that civilization could again be defeated by barbarians. This was presumably a reference to recent populist protests in Europe and the US. No such direct context is apparent in the editions of Civilizations released so far, although there is a sense that, for the BBC Director-General, the project is partly a cultural bulwark against the perceived new television barbarians of Amazon and Netflix, a statement of what the BBC can and should be doing. But when the teenage Hall was awed by Clark, the only ways of seeing art were gallery visits are via 3 British television channels. 5 decades on, the Venus of Brass Boy, the 25,000-year-old ivory figurine that is the standout artifact of the first film, has its own website. China's Terracotta Army, a wow moment in Program 2, has featured in many documentaries. With Civilisations, the BBC has spectacularly and intelligently remade its 1969 hit in a way that reflects shifts in cultural and art historical thinking. Less apparent is any sense of fresh reflection about how and why art should be put on TV. The evolution of the cop show from, say, See Cars in the 1960s to Line of Duty now reflects huge changes in writing, shooting and acting. But if Clark were to watch Civilisations, he might be gratifyingly surprised by how little the concept of cultural programming has changed. Civilization starts on BBC Two at 9 p.m. on Thursday, with all episodes released on BBC iPlayer from 10 p.m.